Yes, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We have actually been all along moving on with a lot of vocabulary that are commonly used in the agroecology language. And I believe by this time you have conceptualized quite a number of them, and you may have started also using them in your deliberations with the audience you actually interact with. Actually, agroecology is diverse, and even its language is also very wide. We are still continuing with some of these mostly used terms in agroecology. I remember last time when we were together, we talked about resource conservation, we talked about ecological footprint, we talked about biopesticides, we talked about agroecological transition, we talked about food systems, we talked about traditional ecological knowledge, and I think we talked also about agroecological practices, ecosystem services, land use planning, and today, I will be taking you through more so that we actually galvanize our vocabulary to have a very good agroecology language. I am again Clovis Kabaseke from Mountains of the Moon University, and very many people have started calling me as the grandfather of agroecology in the Rwenzori region. Just because of the way I'm passionate about it. And I feel very glad that I'm the one now taking you through foundations of agroecology and trying to get you to understand the language of agroecology in detail. Today, we shall begin with the microclimate management as one of the terms that you may find yourself actually interested to use, or which other people will actually be using, so that it doesn't take you by surprise that you don't know it. What is microclimate management? It's a commonly used term in agroecology, and this means techniques that are used to modify local climatic conditions to enhance crop growth, such as windbreaks or shade from trees. Really, you can know that there are certain very harsh conditions that crops can actually go through. These harsh conditions could actually be areas where there are a lot of windstorms and a lot of heavy rains, or they could be areas where there are very tough and harsh scorching sun, and which may actually require you to give some support to your crops, otherwise they will actually be destroyed. So if in case of seeing that there is a climate that is really very harsh to your crops, then you can actually try to use some microclimate management techniques to modify that local climatic conditions in order to enhance the productivity of your farm. Water harvesting is one of the techniques highly required in getting some water and using it efficiently. This is a technique for capturing and storing rainwater for agricultural use, enhancing water availability in dry seasons. It's a real absurd that you'll find that people have got a lot of rooftops which are very wide and can collect a lot of water. And you find this water is never harvested, and it just drops on the ground with a lot of force, carries away the soil downhill when everybody is watching. And when it comes to the dry season, they actually don't have any water around, and they have to move long distances or even buy water or pay heavy bills to national water, when such water could actually be easily harvested. And if you could harvest it during the dry season, the rainy season, you would actually use it for production of agricultural products during the dry season, and then you actually get good food and a lot of money. Intercropping is something that will also continue featuring in your conversations as agroecologists, and this actually means growing 2 or more crops in proximity for mutual benefit, improving resource use efficiency and pest control. Agroecological research, this is scientific studies that focus on understanding agroecological systems and developing sustainable farming practices. Food security, here it is the state of having reliable access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food, often addressed through sustainable agriculture practices. Actually, when I'm talking about food security, we are talking about reliable access. There are some people who have got a lot of food and cannot access it. You find a home, they have a lot of chicken, but all the eggs and the chicken are sold, and the one who sells actually ends up drinking the beer, and the children and the woman perhaps may not access that when there is a lot of food in their production system. So accessing food is one of the things that is very important for food security, and that food must be safe. If, for instance, you are actually seeing, if it is poultry, and you have broilers which will actually mature in only 5 weeks, they will be very big, but they will be chicks. They will not be adults. And when you are eating chicks which are so big, what has made them big? They could be hormones, which may not be very good for your body. And once you take in the hormones, you can develop obesity and develop different diseases like those the chicks. When we talk about food being nutritious, we just need a balanced diet. To have a balanced diet, you need to have the carbohydrates, you have to have the vitamins, you have to have the minerals, you have to have the proteins and all, so in good ratios, so that you can have nutritious food. But if you have a lot of carbohydrate and you are missing out on some of the macro or micronutrients, that one may not be very good food. So food security addresses so many things. But another thing that I would also think about, which may not, which very many people omit, in order to have food security, is not only to have what you can cook, but you should also have efficient ways of actually cooking it. Some people may actually have the food there, but they don't have the fuel that they should actually use to cook it. If you could have some biogas, that would be a very efficient fuel to do that one. Others will actually go and destroy the whole forest because they want to burn charcoal in order to cook food. They are destroying the environment. That one is not so good, but there are some very efficient ways and techniques that one can use to ensure that food security is actually achieved in totality without compromising ecosystem health. Green manure, cover crops grown specifically to be tilled into the soil to improve its fertility and structure. We know very well that from long ago, our parents used to make sure that when they are tilling the land, they would till it when the Galinsoga parviflora, the McDonald's eye, has not actually gone in flower or has not developed seeds, and then they bury the weeds of Galinsoga parviflora. And when the weeds decay, they would actually turn into manure. That is green manure. So that is the type of local knowledge that we would actually wish to promote. So green manure are the cover crops grown specifically to be tilled into the soil to improve its fertility and structure. So the Galinsoga parviflora usually grows on its own because it is considered a weed, but there are some other crops that can be grown deliberately for that purpose in order to add manure into the soil if they are buried under the soil and they decay there to provide soil nutrients. When we talk about natural pest control, that is also a very common word. This is using biological methods such as beneficial insects or natural predators to manage pest populations without chemicals. There is where you can actually use some other living organisms to reduce the pests. Those are natural pest controls. If you actually had a cat around, and you'd certainly know that the rats would actually run away, or it would eat them, and that would be quite okay. You'd have your sweet potatoes and cassava grow very well. And if you find that you have a lot of snails around your crops and they are destroying the crops, it is just an indicator that you don't have enough ducks in the system. You only need to introduce the ducks and the snails will actually be reduced, and that will be okay. Seed sovereignty is something very, very important in agroecology, because this is why we actually, if you get these GMOs, you don't have any control. Some of them are patented and they will actually destroy some of the local varieties, which is something very bad. But if you can save your own seed and you know what you are planting and you know you can have it now and in future, that is real seed sovereignty. And that is also a certain term that we shall be meeting quite often in agroecology. Urban agriculture is also something that we shall be meeting as a term in agroecology, and we shall actually be using this one. And this means the practice of cultivating, processing, and distributing food in or around urban areas, contributing to food security and sustainability. Participatory research. I want to emphasize this participatory research. This is research that actively involves farmers and local communities in the design and implementation of agroecological practices. This is something that actually makes agroecology as a study very, very important. This is the type of research that we actually flag. This is the type of research we promote, recommend, and even implement, where we are actively involving farmers and local communities in the design of the research and even in implementing of any agroecological practices that are recommended by that research. This helps us to co-create knowledge. This is knowledge co-creation. The researcher and the local communities create the knowledge together and study it together and implement it together. And that is something very, very important. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we should have a break for today. We shall continue from this in another session that we shall have. And I think we shall now begin with the relevance of agroecology to sustainable development goals. Thank you very much.